The night was quiet, yet heavy with the sound of falling snow. The city lights glowed faintly, their colors blurred by the flakes that fell endlessly from the dark sky. The streets were not too busy anymore, most people had already rushed into the warmth of their homes. Shops had locked up, taxis were fewer, and the few who still walked hurried with their coats wrapped tightly around their bodies. On one corner, just beside a tall glass building, a young woman sat on the cold ground. Her blue uniform was too thin for such weather, her legs bare against the frozen earth. Her long hair had caught some of the snowflakes, and her arms were wrapped tightly around her knees. She shivered, her breath coming out in small clouds that quickly disappeared into the night air. Her name was Ada. Ada worked as a nurse in one of the small private clinics not far from that street. She had finished her evening shift late, and when she came out, she discovered her purse was missing. She did not know if it had been stolen or if she had simply forgotten it inside. Inside that purse were her transport money and her small apartment key. Without it, she could not go home, and she could not even pay for a bus. She had tried calling one of her colleagues for help, but her phone battery had died earlier during her shift. Now she sat quietly, unsure of what to do, while the cold sank deeper into her body. Cars passed by now and then, their tires pressing against the snow with a soft crunch. People walked past too, but none stopped to ask why she was sitting on the floor at such an hour. She was not angry with them. Everybody had their own troubles, and in a city that moved so fast, it was easy to become invisible. But that night, one person did stop. A black SUV pulled up slowly, its tires crunching against the snow. From the passenger side, a small girl in a red winter coat stepped out, holding a teddy bear close to her chest. She looked around with bright eyes, the kind that noticed everything, and then she tugged at the sleeve of the tall man who followed behind her. The man was dressed in a neat dark suit, his shoes polished, his hair carefully combed. He looked like someone who carried weight, someone used to making decisions that affected many. His name was Chaik. Chaik had just left his office after another long day. He was a CEO, running a company that consumed nearly every hour of his life. Money was not his problem, he had more than enough. But he carried another problem that money could not solve: loneliness. His wife had passed away some years back, leaving him alone to raise their only child, little Amora. He did his best, but work always pulled him away, and deep down, he feared that Amora was growing without the gentle care of a mother. That evening, as they drove home, Amora had insisted they stop for a moment because she saw someone sitting on the ground. Children notice what adults overlook, and her small voice had touched something in Chaik's heart. When they came closer, Chaik saw Ada sitting quietly, her lips pale from the cold. For a brief moment, he hesitated. In his world, people sometimes pretended to be in trouble just to take advantage of kind strangers. But when he saw the way Ada's shoulders trembled, and the way her eyes held both strength and sadness, he bent down slowly, holding out his scarf. "You look cold," he said gently. "Please, take this." Ada raised her eyes. For a second, she thought he might be mocking her, but his face carried no pride. He looked at her as one human looks at another, with genuine concern. Slowly, she reached out, and he wrapped the scarf around her shoulders. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely louder than the falling snow. Little Amora smiled, still clutching her teddy. She stepped closer and said, "Daddy, can we help her more?" Chaik looked at his daughter, then back at Ada. Something stirred inside him, something he had not felt in a long time. A thought rose gently, not forced, not planned: "You need a home, and I need a mother for my daughter." He did not speak the words immediately. Instead, he asked softly, "Where are you going tonight? Can we drop you somewhere safe?" Ada hesitated, then explained her lost purse, her empty pockets, her locked apartment. She tried to laugh at herself, but it came out as a tired sigh. "I think I would just wait till morning. Maybe by then, I can go back to the clinic." The man frowned slightly. "You cannot stay here all night. The cold is dangerous." His voice was calm but firm. He stretched out his hand. "Please, come with us. At least until morning." Ada looked at him, then at the child. The girl's smile was warm, open, without fear. Something about that gave Ada courage. Slowly, she accepted the hand and stood up, her legs weak from sitting so long in the snow. Inside the SUV, warmth spread around her body as the heater hummed. Amora sat beside her, showing her teddy proudly and asking her name. Ada answered gently, feeling the child's easy trust melting some of her own fear. Chike drove in silence, glancing now and then at the rear mirror, his mind quietly shaping the thought that had begun earlier. When they reached his house, a large but tasteful home at the edge of the city, Ada felt a strange mixture of awe and unease. She had never stepped into such wealth before. The marble floors, the tall ceilings, the quiet hum of warmth inside, it was like another world. But Chike did not treat her like an outsider. He asked the maid to bring her some warm tea and a blanket. Amora insisted she sit with them in the living room, beside the Christmas tree that sparkled with soft lights. They talked a little. Chike asked about her work, and she told him how she had always wanted to care for people, even when the pay was small. She shared how she sometimes worked double shifts to cover her rent, how she lived alone since her parents had passed away years ago. Chike listened with quiet respect, not interrupting, not offering pity. When Amora finally grew sleepy and was carried upstairs, the house fell quieter. Chike looked at Ada again, the scarf still around her shoulders. And then, slowly, he spoke the words that had been sitting in his chest. "You need a home. And he paused, almost unsure of himself, I need a mother for my daughter." The words hung in the air, gentle but heavy. Ada blinked, unsure if she had heard right. She wanted to laugh, to say it was too sudden, too strange. But something in his tone told her he was not making a careless offer. He was opening a door, not pushing her through it. "Sad," she began, but he shook his head softly. "My name is Chike. I am not saying this as a man looking for convenience. I am saying it because I see something in you, calmness, kindness. I know it is too soon. But I also know life does not always follow the timing we expect." Ada felt her heart beat faster. She thought of her tiny apartment, her endless shifts, her lonely evenings. She thought of the little girl who had held her teddy and smiled at her as if they had known each other long before. She thought of herself, sitting in the snow, and of this unexpected warmth now wrapping around her. "I don't know if I am ready for something like that," she admitted honestly. Chike nodded. "I understand. You don't have to answer now. Stay tonight. Rest. Tomorrow, if you still wish, I will take you wherever you want to go. But if you choose otherwise, perhaps this house can be a new beginning." The silence that followed was not heavy. It was gentle, like snow settling on the ground. That night, Ada slept in a guest room, the softest bed she had ever laid on. For the first time in weeks, she did not wake up shivering. Instead, she woke to the sound of Amora's laughter in the hallway. The little girl came rushing in, carrying her teddy, and jumped onto the bed. "Good morning, Nurse Ada," she said cheerfully. Something inside Ada melted completely. She hugged the child tightly, feeling a warmth deeper than the blankets around her. Over the next few days, Ada found herself returning to the house. At first, she told herself it was only temporary, only until she could get back on her feet. But the bond between her and Amora grew naturally, like a plant that needed no pushing to bloom. Chike, too, did not rush her. He treated her with quiet respect, letting time do the work. And slowly, the thought that had once frightened her began to feel less strange. Maybe she had been sitting in the snow not just because of a lost purse. Maybe she had been waiting, unknowingly, for a door to open. Weeks later, as she sat once again by the living room fire, Amora sleeping peacefully on her lap, Chike looked at her with the same calm eyes as before. He did not repeat his words. He did not need to. Ada smiled softly, running her fingers through the child's hair, and whispered almost to herself, "Maybe this is home after all." The snow outside kept falling, but inside, the warmth stayed. And for the first time in a long time, none of them felt alone.